Okay, I think I am live there now. Hopefully, I am anyway. And you might just stick confirmation there in the box that you can hear me and see me okay, that I have microphone plugged in and so forth. So today's live stream obviously is about business, all aspects of business, and I will endeavor to answer any questions that you have in relation to business and whether that's online business or offline business or the likes of brand building, YouTube, digital products, digital marketing, bricks and mortar businesses, and so on. So if you have any questions, feel free to stick them in the box there on the right hand side, and I will do my best to answer them. One thing that I am struck by over the last number of years is how few people have actually inquired from me about online or digital business, online business, especially in the current climate when you have a situation where an awful lot of people are working from home. There's an awful lot of people stuck in the home and working from kitchens and so on. And I'm amazed that not so many people have tried to start their own business, their own online business, and perhaps something like getting involved with digital products, making digital products, and so on. I would appreciate if you would just let me know there that you can see me and you can hear me and so on, because sometimes it feels like speaking into a an echo chamber to a great extent. So if you have any questions, as I say, I'm happy enough to try and answer them. Patricia Floyd, thanks for showing up. Digital products, what area would you recommend to start off with? In relation to digital products, Patricia, I would recommend that you start small, and the easiest thing to do would be to create some sort of a report or a book. And even if the report was something that you're going to give away for free, it would be a good start, because the key thing is it'll allow you to build up an audience of interested people, interested persons who follow you and who will come to know, like, and trust you. And that's vital. That's how I started. And my current digital marketing efforts have led me to over, I think it's 10,000 subscribers by email. And I've done that by giving away free reports. So if you go to my website, businessandlegal.ie, or if you go to my website, employmentrightsireland.com, you'll find a free report on both of those sites. In fact, you'll find a number of free reports on the Business and Legal site. And the Business and Legal site, for example, has a free report about not building, about buying or selling residential property. The Employment Rights Ireland one has a free report called the 16 Common Mistakes that Most Irish Employers Make. And the likes of those reports, which are entirely free, people will sign up for them. They'll give me their email address in return for that ethical bribe which I'm making. And once I get their email address, then I follow up with useful content, relevant content, which they can use in their business or use to build or to buy a house, sell a house, or whatever. But the key thing is making a report is a very simple step. All you're looking at is an autoresponder email marketing account and a PDF document that you can deliver electronically. And that's what I do. And I've built up a huge base of people, about in excess of 10,000 subscribers at this stage, who have signed up for various reports of mine. So in terms of digital products, that's the first step I take, simply a free report. After that, then I'd be looking at, probably the easiest thing to do would be a book, an ebook that you can sell on Amazon, you can sell on Kindle. Kindle and Amazon is an absolute machine in terms of delivering a market to you and so on. And I have a number of books for sale on Amazon, and I have Kindle books, and they're also available in paperback, and they're also available in audio. So the audio is delivered through Audible, the app, and the ACX platform. The paperbacks and the Kindle versions of the books are delivered through the Amazon.co.uk and the Amazon.com platforms, and they are fantastic. So that's where I'd start first. Then, in addition to the books, I also have a couple of online courses. One of the online courses is to do with investment, and one is to do with carrying out a disciplinary procedure in the workplace. Those products, again, are basically video based. So basically I create the videos and upload them to Teachable. Teachable.com is where I deliver from. It's all automated, and it's very, very efficient, very effective, and very, very useful. So, that's where I'd start. I'd start with an ebook. I'd go on then to a proper book, as it were, a Kindle book, and which can be sold as a paperback. And I'd go on then perhaps down the line to do a course, deliver a course. And we all have talents, we all have knowledge, we all have experience and so on that we could deliver either in a course or in a book or whatever. So that's where I'd start if I was doing it. Bajilson, coming through loud and clear. Thank you, Bajilson. You're showing up again. Good stuff. Quiet Mind, can you help buying in Cavan? I certainly can. I've bought plenty of stuff in Cavan down through the years myself. I don't know whether you're referring there, Quiet Mind, to property, residential property, or a business or whatever, but there's no difficulty buying in Cavan. I'm married to a Cavan woman as well, so it's not like it's an independent republic or anything. It's just the same as buying anywhere else, so there's no difficulty. And obviously, if we're buying property or indeed buying a business, solicitor doesn't go out and do a physical inspection. So our transaction, our work is carried out online, and it's a paper-based, desk-based exercise. So there's no difficulty whether you're buying a property or whether you're buying a business anywhere. Any solicitor can help you, quite frankly. We're not located, or we're not restricted to a particular geographical area. Mozi Aminu, thank you for coming along and attending the live stream. You're a huge fan. That's great. Hope I'm having a lovely afternoon. I certainly am. And when this is finished, I'll be having an even nicer one, because obviously Paddy's Day tomorrow. So I want to wish you all a happy Paddy's Day, Patrick's Day, the Irish and the New Irish and the Old Irish and everybody that's watching in. Quiet Mind, residential property. Feel as I'm being played over here. We'll reach out privately for it. Well, I don't know what you mean there, Quiet Mind. There's no difficulty anyway, and it's up to yourself whether you allow yourself to be played or not. But the market is the market. Anyway, I'm happy enough to try to answer any business-related questions. Anything to do with business, online business, offline business, physical business, etc. I'm surprised, as I say, that down through the years, the last number of years, that not more people have come to me and said, how did you build a YouTube channel like with 10,000 subscribers? Or how did you make an ebook? How did you make the Kindle books? How did you make the courses? I'm surprised nobody's done that, because come to me and ask me questions of that nature, because quite frankly, there's great opportunities there, fantastic opportunities. And I know myself, I'd be curious, certainly. I'd be curious. Patricia Floyd, how do you pay tax on an online business? Well, strictly speaking, Patricia, it depends to a great extent where you're generating your sales. I'm generating sales, for example, in the UK and the United States on Amazon, and therefore all the tax, basically all the income, comes into my account. And bottom line is, I have to account for it every year, and I pay tax just in the normal way, normal income tax, and that's it. I have to account for it, obviously. The situation is changing now in relation to taxation. For example, the Google AdSense program are asking us to fill out certain details now to be tax compliant, and then we have to fill out forms. I have to fill out forms every year for Amazon, for example, to be tax compliant with the United States Revenue Service or tax service over there, the Inland Revenue, whatever you call them, the IRS. So that's how we do that. So a lot of the big platforms like Google and Amazon will ensure that we are kept fairly fairly honest. And then obviously we have our own revenue commissioners who will be going through the accounts. And let's face it, when there's money coming in to my account, whether it's through PayPal or whether it's through Amazon directly into my bank account, or coming from any other source, ultimately it's going to end up in my bank account, and I have to account for it, and I account for my income and so on a cash basis, and that's the way I do the returns, certainly the VAT returns anyway. And then obviously we do annual returns just as a sole trader or a limited company or whatever the situation is. If you find anything useful now, don't be afraid to give it a thumbs up, because it's a good signal to be sending to the YouTube algorithm. And unfortunately, we live in a time when the YouTube algorithm has to be kept sweet. Does having a YouTube channel guarantee much income? No, it doesn't. It guarantees me a big income, to be honest with you, but that's not from YouTube, and it's not from Google AdSense, and it's not from advertising. My income from YouTube comes from the clients that I get off it. So I get a huge number of clients from YouTube for employment law issues, for property transactions, and so on. And then I obviously get, well, not obviously, I get people from abroad, from the United Kingdom, from Germany, from Europe, from the United States, who want to buy a property in Ireland. And if they do that and they end up on YouTube, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine after Google, and YouTube is owned by Google, well, then they're going to come across me. Now, when they come across me, they're going to find videos which are useful and which are helpful and which they are impressed with. And ultimately, people will contact me and ask me to act for them in relation to purchasing a property in Ireland. So the value of YouTube is enormous, and it's enormous in my business. And I'm not sitting here doing live streams. I'm not sitting here making videos for the lulz. There's a strategy involved, and it's very effective, and it has become more effective over the years. Obviously, I've got a bit better at making the videos and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is YouTube is incredibly powerful search engine, not just an entertainment spot, but it's a search engine. It's owned by Google, who obviously invented search. So from that perspective, it's very powerful. But in terms of the few bob I get from the AdSense advertising income, and you'll see ads on my videos at the beginning and middle and end or whatever. And if you click on an ad, I get a small commission or a small percentage of the ad revenue or whatever. In that situation, then, I do get a few bob. It's a regular income, and it's just sort of, it pays for something, some overhead of mine. But the key for me in YouTube is developing, growing my client base and building a brand, and demonstrating, I suppose, expertise and trust and so on. And when people are looking for answers, when people are looking for solutions, we often find ourselves going to the likes of YouTube to find out, how do I fix the lawnmower, or what's wrong with the cat, or whatever. And we will find solutions and look for solutions on the likes of YouTube. So the fact that you have a channel there and you're building a brand and so on is very, very powerful, very useful. But strictly speaking, I wouldn't get a huge amount of income off YouTube, because I wouldn't have enough subscribers. I have over 10,000 subscribers now, nearly 11,000, but that wouldn't be enough to generate anything serious in terms of AdSense. If you find it useful now, don't be afraid to hit the like button there. Any more questions there for me now? Nobody is looking to buy or start a bricks and mortar business or buy a shop or anything, or any other sort of a business. I'm surprised there isn't more business owners asking questions and so on. Lusa, thank you for coming along. If you're just starting out as a freelance creator, photography, and not registered yet, if I have a contract with a client, does it still stand, although it's not a registered business? Yes, absolutely. You don't have to be a so-called registered business, and you don't have to register for VAT either. You can have a contract as a contractor or as a photographer or whatever, and the contract will be between you and the other party, and it doesn't have to be in writing either, but it does help, because in the event of a dispute, it will be very helpful to understand and recognize what exactly the terms and conditions were, what were the obligations and responsibilities and entitlements of both parties. So, but you don't need to register, no, and you could have a contract as a private person or as a sole trader, photographer or videographer or artist or whatever, no difficulty. Patricia Floyd, thank you. That gives me a different perspective. No problem. I'll learn a lot from your channel. That's good stuff. Good stuff. It's a slow day now today compared to some of the other ones. With a contract, can I make it myself? I wouldn't need to get a solicitor to write it. No, you wouldn't need a solicitor, but it's a bit like taking out your own tooth. You don't need to go to a dentist to take out your own tooth, but it's probably advisable. You can get the piece of string, tie it around your tooth, do the doorknob trick, and slam it. But as I say, you probably would be better off going to a dentist. Likewise with your contract for your photography business. I mean, if you're starting in a business and you can't afford to get some guy or some gal to do up a contract for you, which you're going to use for all of your clients, then you're not ready to start yet, quite frankly, because there's some things that you can't mess about with, and there's some things that you can't ignore, some things you can't overlook, and a contract is so fundamental. I mean, the basis of the service that you're going to provide as a photographer will be based on contract. So you can write it yourself if you want to, but my advice would be to get it drafted correctly and properly by a solicitor. Now, I hope you find that helpful. If you do, you might give it the old thumbs up there. Some day, isn't it? It's getting really warm now, and it should be nice for Paddy's Day. I think the Paddy's Day forecast is quite good. So looking forward to taking it easy tomorrow, having a few beers. Thanks for coming along anyway, everybody. And if you have any more questions, stick them in the old box there, and I'll try and answer them. Slow today now. What sort of contract can I make it myself? Yeah. Quiet mind. Thank you for your valuable time. No problem. No problem. Have any of you ever tried to have a digital product or create a digital product or do anything of that nature? For example, an ebook or a course or anything. I'm surprised more people haven't tried to do that and created their own products and so on. As I was saying earlier on there, everybody has some skill, some experience, some knowledge that they, might take for granted and assume that everybody knows what they know. But in fact, that's not the case at all. And many people have skills and experiences and so on that other people would find very, very valuable. So, don't overlook what you've learned. Don't overlook your skills. Don't overlook your experience, because you can help somebody coming up, and they're prepared to pay for that. People do recognize, and obviously you should be recognizing, that knowledge is power, and knowledge is worth something, and information, good information products are worth a lot of money. And if you have an idea or have a good experience or a good outlook on something, good perspective, something valuable to share, then that has a value, and you should really be thinking about capitalizing on it and creating some sort of a digital product. I do create digital products in terms of applications for mobile, desktop, and our websites. Good stuff. Quiet mind. Yeah, that's great. Mobile and applications. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, there should be a lot of app developers and so on out there. I don't know much about app development myself, but I do know that there's an absolutely massive market. And let's face it, we all have apps on our phones now for all sorts of things. And let's face it, the knowledge game, the knowledge industry, selling knowledge, selling information, like it's endless, the potential in it. And every good idea that you have, you could actually potentially turn it into some sort of a knowledge product, a digital product. So get your thinking hats on. That's what I'd say. When I was a young fella, there was no opportunity like that, but I'm taking the chances now. Now, MC Sent. All right, Terry, would you have any advice as to how best to start a website capable of selling products? Who best to approach? I have seen some absolute car crashes in relation to websites. I've seen some absolutely crap websites as well. About 10 years ago, when I was starting or went back to college and started studying law and so on, I started my own website. And from YouTube and from videos, I taught myself how to create a website. And all the websites that I have, and I'd say I have 10 or 15 of them at the moment, I made them myself. So if you wanted to start a website, you should actually take the time to watch a few videos on YouTube, look up how to make a WordPress website. It's fairly easy, very straightforward. You can build it on WordPress.com, or you can use the WordPress.org software and build the website on your own hosting account, which is what I do. So all my websites are built to myself. You should take the time, I think, to learn how to do it, because it's very, very useful. And even if you're not going to build the site yourself for your own business, the fact that you know how will mean that there's less chance of you getting ripped off, How would you protect your intellectual property against companies? It depends on what intellectual property you're talking about. Quiet mind. If it's, for example, copyright, then it's up to you to enforce your copyright against anybody else who would infringe your copyright. So you can't actually register copyright like you can register a trademark. You own the copyright though. So if you create a photograph or a book or a painting or whatever, the creator owns the copyright in it, but it's up to you to enforce it, because there's no central authority for registering the copyright. Trademark is different type of intellectual property. Trademark can be registered. A patent can be registered as well, but you can't copyright an idea. You can't copyright a good idea. So you can actually copy other people's good ideas and implement them in your own way. And that's what they reckon geniuses do. Geniuses steal other ideas, and they build on them. They iterate and they change, and they make little tweaks, and they make the thing better. And that's how an awful lot of development and improvement has occurred down through the years, by copying others. But yeah, protecting intellectual property, it depends which type of intellectual property. As I say, trademark straightforward. Copyright, you must enforce it yourself. Patents, you can register if you want, and so on. I have an idea which I'm trying to get sponsored. See, there you go now, quiet mind. You have an idea, but you can't copyright an idea. So somebody else might copyright your idea. You are doesn't want to sign an NDA. You see, you have to be worrying there about somebody who's prepared to, who's not prepared to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And obviously, if they're not prepared to sign a non-disclosure agreement, then you have to be a bit concerned about their attitude, their posture, etc. And I think if I was you, I'd be looking at somebody else, because there's no reason why they wouldn't sign a non-disclosure agreement if they accepted that you were it's your idea and so on, and it's dead standard operating procedure, quite frankly, that people do enter into non-disclosure agreements if they wish to sort of engage in discussions with a view to maybe some sort of a collaboration or whatever. Now, Sam David, how are you, Sam? When you got a side hustle on the go where your clients pay cash, when the client wishes to make a bank transfer, at what point do you have to consider inland revenue? Well, Sam, my good man, I'm a solicitor, so I can't advise you to be evading tax or anything of that nature. It's up to yourself as to how you get paid. You have to consider the revenue commissioners at all times. Obviously, if your income exceeds a certain amount, you must pay tax, and that's just the way of the world, and that's really it, Car Mirrorman, I recognize that. Yes, I recognize your business. All right. Thanks for coming along. Hope you've been well since. I have a question. How do you yourself go about doing market research when opening a new business now in Ireland, like a grocery store or retail? To be honest with you, Car Mirrorman, if I was doing a grocery store or retail, my research would involve walking around the neighborhood and counting the chimney pots. That's if I was doing retail. Now, it depends what type of retail, but definitely grocery store. I'm looking for chimney pots. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for houses. Without houses, without people, you're not going to have a grocery business. So I can set up a grocery business out the road there on the main road, heading from Mullingar, really busy road, but all passing trade, no local trade. It's going to be difficult. So I'm looking for chimney pots, and I'm going to walk the streets. That's the way I would do the research for the likes of a grocery store or retail. Now, if I was getting into a bigger development or a bigger investment, rather, not development, a bigger investment, then I'd be talking to some of the groups like Musgraves, like Centra, like Spar, Londis, etc., etc. I'd be talking to those groups because, to be honest with you, those guys would have a fair old handle on locations. They'd have a fair handle on what's possible, what's going to run in any particular location, and they'll have a lot of data from turnover figures, from supplying shops in the area and so on, down through the years. So if you go to the likes of Spar or Centra and you get talking to the right people, and there's a serious investment in the pipeline, and you're looking at putting down serious money, then you'll get your access to the research, you'll get your access to the expertise and so on. But if you're starting in a small way and you don't have that sort of information, or that sort of money rather, and access to the likes of Centra, you walk the streets basically and you count the chimney pots. That's what I'd be doing. Hope are you still in the country, Carver man, or did you bail out? I think you were going to bail there at some stage. You were going to expand into Europe and so on. I'm not sure whether you did or not. You're still in Ireland. You might be stuck here with the COVID-19 situation. Many thanks. Business has been better since. Good stuff. Hopefully all businesses will get better towards the summer. Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully this COVID-19 vaccine rollout will continue and perhaps even develop, gathering pace, as it were, and small businesses can return to action. I think a lot of small businesses at this stage now are absolutely at the end of their tether, and I have seen evidence around the place, not too far from where I am now, of people not really adhering to the guidelines and getting fed up and engaging in activity that perhaps isn't allowed by the regulations and so on. And we have a very, very difficult situation where, the numbers of COVID cases have come down to a certain level but seem to have plateaued. And on the other hand, we have the perfect storm of people getting pissed off and fed up, and going out of their mind at home and watching their businesses going to the wall. It's a very, very difficult situation, and I don't have the solution. But what I do know is that other developed economies around the world and other established democracies have had lockdowns all over the place, including the United Kingdom, France, and now Italy have gone back to their second lockdown, and it's 12 months. It just goes to show you how difficult and intractable a problem it is, and there's no easy solutions. But for small businesses, I have a huge degree of sympathy, because clearly it would be an absolute disaster to see your business going to the wall through no fault of your own. Anyway, keep the questions coming there, and if you find anything useful, don't be afraid to hit the old like button there. Keep the YouTube algorithm happy and satisfied. Jeez, it's getting warm today. It's 16 degrees or something. I just saw on my phone there earlier on. Are all you guys working in businesses or working in jobs? Are you self-employed, or are you looking to start your own business, or are you in careers and you're hoping to get some sort of a side hustle going or something? I'd be interested to see. Sam David, thanks for the great videos as always, Charlie. Thanks. Do you see any return to normal life anytime soon post COVID-19? I see a return to normal life after the rollout of the vaccine, to be honest with you. because I think the alternative is just so appalling that I don't think people will countenance it, and I don't think um, I think there will be, but I think the vaccination is the key. There's nothing else. We don't have anything else. There's no silver bullet apart from the vaccination. And if we can get enough vaccination and get it out quickly enough, then I think we'll be all right. I think there will be recovery. Now, we are a small nation, a small country, and obviously maybe there's other people in the queue before us, but sooner or later there's going to be enough vaccine for everybody. And with us, it's probably going to be a little bit later, but that's fine, because once we get it, I think hopefully towards the end of the year, towards the autumn certainly, I think you should see some sort of a return to a good degree of return to normality. Funny enough, I'm after noticing something there. People who come into my office now, they're wearing masks, and I've got screens there on the desk or on the table where I sit, and it was always initially when people came in, they'd always say, "Can I take off the mask?" And I'd say, "Yeah, no problem. I take off my own mask because it's a screen, perspex screen between us." But now people are actually so used to the bloody masks that they don't even ask to take it off. They leave it on. And I don't like the mask myself. I do accept, obviously, the need to wear it and so on. And I do wear it. But I'm surprised, and I have seen a change, a big change over the last 12 months, where people couldn't wait to get the bloody thing off when they came in once they saw the perspex. And now they actually leave it on and they actually forget about it. Because I have people coming in here to sign contracts, sign loan offers from banks, to sign declarations, affidavits, applications, all sorts of stuff. And now they have the bloody mask on, and leave it on. Anyway, I hope that answers your questions. If you have any more now, don't be afraid to let them rip. Do any of you have a YouTube channel as a matter of interest? Getting vaccinated is not a problem, but what was the point for the governments worldwide to protect the manufacturers against lawsuits? Get something that they can't sue for any damage. Quiet mind, that's a different question entirely. It's nothing got to do with business, and I'm not really going to address it because it contains presumptions and inferences with which I don't agree. So we won't go there today. We'll just leave that. Questions about business and so on, I'm happy to try to deal with. And I hope you're all enjoying the good weather, and I hope you're all enjoying, looking forward to Paddy's Day, Patrick's Day, our national day of celebration. Unfortunately, this year we'll be celebrating out on our own back lawns or whatever, front lawns, and we'll be having virtual marches or tours, or not those bloody parades that we used to have. I can remember years ago, actually, in the likes of Enfield here and up and down the country in small villages and towns, you'd see the parade, and God love it, it'll be a tractor and a flatbed trailer behind, and a lorry and another flatbed trailer, and you'd have the Boy Scouts and you'd have the Girl Guides, and that's it. And the whole thing looked very, very amateurish. And now you'd kill to see these amateur parades up and down the country in Enfield and Trim and Kilcock and everywhere around the place and all over the country. You'd love to see it, because you'd love to see people out in their own, in their own flesh and blood, as it were, walking up and down the streets behind freaking tractors and flatbed trailers and so on, combine harvesters and all sorts of old cars and that sort of thing. And all that crack went on down through the years, and we all kind of took it for granted. We all thought it was awful sort of naff, as it were. But anyway, you'd kill for it to see it now, quite frankly, And tomorrow's Patrick's Day, our national day of celebration, and there's nothing on, For 40, 50 years, I've spent every Patrick's Day, or nearly every Patrick's Day, watching the club finals on TV there from Croke Park, the hurling final and the football final. And I think I was at the one last year, the year before. It was a fantastic occasion. And then obviously you have all the parades, and none of that is going to be there this year, which is a pity. Interested, have you any experience with regards to grants of probate recently, and how long do they normally take? When sale agreed in February, but vendors, solicitors stalling, it seems. The code EP This is a live stream about business, so I'm not going to answer that question, I'm afraid. This is about business. If you have a business question, I'm happy enough to answer it, but otherwise you can send me an email if you like. Hope you are all keeping well anyway, and as I say, looking forward to Patrick's Day. And if you have any business questions, either online business, digital business, online marketing, brand building, YouTube, Facebook advertising, Amazon, Kindle, digital products, or physical businesses, retail businesses, I'm happy to deal with them. So the business section is slow enough now compared to the property one. Everyone was mad about property, but it seems the business people are probably either A, gone out of business, or B, too busy to try to attend. But anyway, as I say, encouraging questions there to do with business. And if you, I'd be interested to know though whether any of you are in business or whether you are sale agreed. Oh no, sale agreed, yeah. Whether any of you are in business or starting a business or thinking about starting a business or whatever. And you can ask the questions there. As I say, I will try to answer them. And I am surprised that there hasn't been more interest in the likes of digital marketing and so on. How do you set up a social enterprise in Ireland? I'm not really sure what a social enterprise is. Thanks for coming along, DC Brit 2003. I don't know what a social enterprise is, I'll have to confess. I'm not sure whether that's a business enterprise or not. D. Keane, is going into business the best way to make decent money versus wage-paying jobs? It's hard to know, D. Keane. It probably is, to be honest with you, but it depends on your psychological approach. It depends on your psyche, and it depends obviously on your business. I mean, you could be a good entrepreneur and have a great industry about you, an entrepreneurial streak, and so on and so forth. And but unfortunately, if you get into the wrong business and it goes tits up, or indeed the industry goes tits up, like the property industry here 10 or 15 years ago, when the tide goes out, the tide goes out, and all boats are actually sunk. So it's hard to know, but look, you can't really make a decision, I don't believe, on the best way to make decent money versus wage-paying jobs, because if you could be in a wage-paying job for your entire life and you're unhappy, no money would pay you for that, quite frankly. So I think you should be doing, within reason, what you are passionate about, what you like doing, and so on. I, for example, I'm in this office here at 6:30, 6:15 actually, every morning, and I just take it for granted. That's what I do. It's my life, and I do it practically every day of the week. Well, I do it Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm up very early as well and working away, and I'd always work at the weekend. So for me, when you're doing something that you really like, it's not really like work. So but certainly working for somebody else, for me, just wasn't a runner. I've come from a long line of small business owners, and there's probably a streak of independence, or a streak of doggedness, or a streak of wanting to and being prepared to row your own boat and sink or swim in all of us. So that's how I'm cut out. So I couldn't work for somebody else, quite frankly, and I'll have to admit to that. So in terms of your question, decent money, you'll make more decent money, as a successful businessman. But if you don't succeed, or if you're unhappy at one thing or the other, then you're not going to do too well. Car Mirrorman, do you think there might be a tough recovery time post-COVID-19 in Ireland or Europe? Do you think prices in general, supply of flights will rise to catch up on the losses from the past? I do. I think there'll be a strong, vigorous recovery, certainly in Ireland anyway. Once the COVID situation is over, assuming that it is going to be over, and it will have to be over at some stage, I do believe that there'll be a good recovery. And I think that's on the basis that there's an awful lot of pent-up savings now, and obviously going to find some sort of a home. And I think the demand for flights and demand to get into Europe, the demand to go on a bloody holiday, the demand to go to the pub or go to the restaurant and have a meal and a few drinks and so on. Jesus, there is some serious pent-up demand there. So I think I'd be very hopeful that there'll be a strong recovery, quite frankly, you know. Now, Michelle Coakley, thank you for coming along, Michelle. I just sell small craft items, but I am working on a website at the moment using Facebook Marketplace to sell and Instagram to build audience. Definitely been keeping a close eye on your page for business. Good stuff, Michelle. What I would warn you about, and I caution you about very, very carefully, is you are building your business on somebody else's land. So be careful that you're not going to be like a digital sharecropper. In other words, completely dependent on Facebook or Instagram. By all means, build an audience there, but you should have your own home base. You should have your own website, because you never know when Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, Instagram, and everybody else change the bloody rules. And the next thing is you have to pay to reach your audience. You have to pay to reach your fans. That happened on Facebook, and you know it happens all the time. So be careful. I exploit these services. I exploit social media to beat the band. I exploit YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Amazon. I exploit them all as best I can, but I do recognize that it's their gig. They make the rules, and I need my own website for that reason. So be careful about your small business, and Facebook Marketplace, etc. is fine, and Instagram is fine, but ultimately you do need your own sort of home base, and bear that in mind. And you should be getting yourself website sorted out. And let's face it, I mean, if you're a small business and somebody goes to check you out and you have no website, and you only have Instagram, or you only have Facebook, or you only have Twitter or whatever, then people will be questioning how serious you are about your business and so on. So be careful about that and build your own base, but by all means extract all the value you can out of social media. And speaking of social media, don't overlook the power of advertising on social media. Smart advertising on social media, really budgeted, tight social media advertising. I advertise on Facebook, and to be honest with you, it's fantastic value. But even better value is the advertising I do on YouTube. I mean, I'm getting views for a cent, which means that I am getting 1,000 people a day for, is it 1,000 at a cent or whatever? It's euro or 10 euros or something. But I am getting an absolutely shitload of views, which I pay for. But at a cent a view, I mean, I'm delighted with myself. So YouTube advertising is fantastic, but obviously you can only advertise on YouTube if you have a YouTube channel and videos up. But Facebook advertising, don't overlook it, but take the time to go and see how it's done properly. Take the time to go onto YouTube and watch videos, and you will find the information is out there, absolutely all out there. You just need to take the time and have the interest and the passion and the drive to find it out, Now, MC sent partners looking to start a lawnmower chainsaw dealership. Difficulty, suitable premises, very little suitable on Daft, etc. Any other suggestions as to how to find commercial premises? Daft, local auctioneers and so on. But Jesus, I don't think in the current climate, MC sent, that there should be any difficulty in getting a premises for a lawnmower stroke chainsaw dealership. I mean, there's small businesses going to the wall up and down the country because of COVID-19. So, I don't think there's any difficulty there. Obviously, you would, in whatever area you're looking at, you'd go into the various auctioneers, estate agents, put your name down and say, look, I'm looking for this particular type of premises. If anything comes up, give me a shout. The estate agent or auctioneer is going to be delighted to contact you, because obviously it'll be in their interest to offload the premises, let it quickly and so on. So that's the only thing you can do. Daft is not too bad, and absolutely have a look at Daft. Most auctioneers will be advertising on Daft. So if it's not on Daft, it may not just be in your area or available at the moment in your locality, but you will find it, or your partner will. But I'm surprised there's any difficulty getting premises. Now, DC Brit 2003. So in the UK, there are community interest companies, which is a recognised legal structure that may social enterprise in the UK. I was just wondering if social media. DC Brit 2003, thanks for coming along. I don't, in the context of business, etc., I don't know. I mean, there is groups here, which would be social enterprises. I can't remember, the community groups or whatever. Like we have one in our parish. They'd maintain, the local church and the graveyard and flower beds, and get our little village in order for the Tidy Towns competition and all that sort of thing. I can't put community development. I think community development associations or companies or whatever. So I suppose they'd be very similar to the community interest companies that you're talking about. So we have those, yeah, but obviously they wouldn't really be oriented towards business, etc. How they're structured, then I'm not 100%. I've come across a few of them insofar as I have been dealing with, for example, employees who might have been let go or fired or had difficulties. So Michelle Coakley, when I get the website up and running, how best do I advertise the site itself? Facebook is excellent, and Instagram is excellent, and YouTube is excellent. So what you need to do is advertise on those platforms, build an audience on those platforms, build a crowd on those platforms, and you can do that very easily, provided your stuff is useful, etc., and of value to people. You will be able to build an audience, and then when you do that, you obviously want to funnel them back to your website and do the transaction there. So you set up your own payment system. You might set up your own email opt-in autoresponder series. You might do a report. I don't know what you're selling, but you could give out a brochure or brochures, or deliver some sort of a report, something of value in return for an email address, and then follow up with people. That's what I've done in relation to my business. Now, your business could be slightly different if you're doing craft goods and so on and so forth. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, and in order to market to somebody, you do need to, A, fish where the fish are, and B, get them interested in your stuff and basically build a relationship with them if you can. Obviously, you can run competitions and so on and so forth, Men's Shed is a social enterprise that is prevalent there. Yeah, it is. And they're a very successful social enterprise as well. And you have the various sort of community or parish-based organizations as well, as I say, the community development organizations and so on. So I suppose there's a good few equivalent to the social enterprise outfits and companies that you're referring to there, What time are we there, Tal? 16:47. God, we're coming to the end now. If you find it useful, the live stream useful, A, I want to thank you for coming along anyway, but B, I'd appreciate if you give it a thumbs up just to let Google know or YouTube know that it's of interest and gives a good signal to the algorithm. A few more questions there now to take if you want to stick them in that box there. Yeah, no, I think there will be a bounce back after the COVID situation is resolved, and hopefully it will be resolved in the not too distant future. There's a lot of money obviously being saved up at the moment, but there's a lot of business going on at the moment as well. Certainly the likes of property and so on is still taking over. And obviously, smaller businesses though, and businesses in the entertainment and catering sections and so on, like just they're devastated. And you'll have to feel sorry for them, you really would. And I really do hope that we see them back. And, there's nothing that I'd like better now than to walk into a pub and order a couple of pints. Even one pint, so it'll be grand. But, it would be nice to get out again and support small businesses. And, it's all very well saying like there's online sales and so on, but you can't have an online sale of a pint of Guinness and the atmosphere and so on that that comes with that, of going into a nice pub, local pub, or indeed going into a pub maybe in Dublin. There's a pub there that I go to in Middle Abbey Street. I think it's called the Oval, and I really like it. It's kind of a really old Irish sort of a pub, but anyway, it's just a down-to-earth sort of plain pub, and I like it. I like the pint of Guinness in it. But looking forward to getting back to normal. But at the moment, we have to keep doing our best in terms of doing the social distancing thing and abiding by and adhering to the regulations, because there is no silver bullet. There's no simple way, and we do need to try and get the bloody figures down. They seem to be stuck between 350 and 500 at the moment, new cases per day, and we need to get it lower. And I would ask you, if you can, to stick with the program. I know it's shit, but it's the only game in town. There is no other solution, I don't believe. So, and I'd ask you to ask your friends and neighbours and relations and so on to do the same thing, because we're all in this gig together and we all need to get out of it together. And we're not going to do that if people are going on solo runs and having sly parties and so on. So anyway, Michelle Coakley, thanks for giving your time today. No problem, Michelle. Hope your business works out and develops and so on. And maybe you'll come back someday and you'll be doing your own live stream on YouTube, and you'll be actually showing and displaying your small craft items. You remember that, you know, you can start a YouTube channel for free. It's not going to cost you a cent, absolutely nothing. And you could actually display all of your gift items, your craft items on YouTube. You could hold a live stream, and you know, if you can build a crowd either on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else, and get people looking in from abroad and so on as well, Europe, UK, America, like, why wouldn't you hold a live stream and actually demonstrate and show your craft products? Like, wouldn't that be a very useful thing? And all it's going to take is an hour of your time, but you do need to be able to build an audience in the first instance. But that takes time, and that's just, you know, showing up and providing something of value to the people that you want to serve. That's what I do as best I can. I show up and I give valuable information, valuable content to people who might be interested at some stage in doing business with me. And I'm dropping all of these sort of breadcrumbs on the water, and ultimately fish come along after that. And that's how it works. And I don't actually sell anything as such in a too salesy way and so on. I don't have to, quite frankly, because people come to me. I do sell my books and so on. So if you want to have a look there, have a look on amazon.co.uk. And obviously I've got my investment courses on Teachable. But other than that, like, I just make stuff that's of useful or of value. So whatever I do, whatever content I produce, it must have utility. It must be valuable. And in that way, I build trust and confidence. And that's how I've received or acquired over nearly 11,000 subscribers on YouTube at this stage. And that's a useful audience to have, very, very powerful audience. And I'm very appreciative of people who subscribe to my channel. And some people who subscribe to my channel disagree with me about various things, and that's fair enough. Disagreement is good. Differences of opinion and view are perfectly fine. What I won't tolerate, though, is personal abuse and that sort of thing. So if that happens, I just kick them off the channel. But otherwise, difference of opinion, no problem, and we can live with that. But that's what I was saying, just in relation, Michelle Coakley, to developing your business. You should really consider down the line, or even now, starting a YouTube channel and starting off small and you know, small steps. The first video or two that I made was absolutely appalling, and all I was doing was looking for a link basically from a top site like YouTube back to my website. So I was doing it as a sort of an SEO, a search engine optimization move or strategy. But you know, over time it developed, and 10 years later now, like an overnight success, you know, I've over 10,000 subscribers. But it started off rough as a badger's arse, quite frankly, and you know, you build on it and you iterate and you improve and you keep showing up and you practice, and you can make a video, for example, that you don't publish. You can make a video and you can upload it to YouTube, and you can have it either private or unlisted or public. Why not have it private or unlisted? Have a look at it, see how you can improve and so on, you know. Any good startup idea is to take advantage of the bounce back. D Keen. Don't really have any D Keen. I mean, look, I think, yeah, look, it's hard to know. You need to look around in your own area, I suppose, and your own area of expertise and so on. One thing, though, that I would be looking at would be the whole area of digital or online business and creation of digital products and so on, and teaching, because people obviously have become more conditioned and more used to dealing online, communicating online, having meetings online, and the whole idea, concept now of a Zoom meeting and so on, that's absolutely standard now. It's, you know, day-to-day, ordinary, everyday stuff. So the idea of delivering courses, for example, online, like I do through Teachable or whatever, or other digital products like ebooks or Kindle books, etc. That's something that you could consider. But other than that, I suppose it depends what area you're in. It depends on your area of expertise. It depends on the amount of money that you might have to your um, audience. Donald McKenney, what advice would you give to your 23-year-old self? That's a good question, Donald. I really don't know. Yeah, it's hard to know. I was headstrong, to be honest with you, when I was 23, and I probably, in fairness, have been headstrong since. So, even if I could give myself, my 23-year-old self, advice, I probably wouldn't listen. So that's the truth of it. And I think my brother, or brothers, and my mother would certainly confirm that. So it's hard to know, but yeah, I suppose my 23-year-old self, look, I say it again and I sound like a broken record, but I think one of the biggest advantages anybody can have is a good attitude, a good positive attitude, not a whingy, whiny sort of an attitude, not an attitude of the whole freaking world is out to get me, not an attitude of somebody else is to blame because I've failed. Somebody else is responsible. It's the government, it's the bank, it's the builders, it's the Europeans, it's the Americans, it's the English. That sort of old whingy, whiny, pointing the finger attitude is something that's not going to serve you well. So I suppose if I was given any advice to myself, I'd be saying have a decent attitude, Terry, it's been good to connect with you, having recently found and subscribed to your channel. Good stuff, DC Brit 2003. I'm glad you find it useful. Make sure now to stay subscribed, and I hope to continue making the videos and have half decent ones. I've just a couple of minutes to go there now, and I am going to, just before I go, you might hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done so already, just to confirm or let Google know that it's you found it useful, etc. I've answered as many questions, or I've answered all the questions today. The questions were a little bit slow coming today, but I hope you find it useful. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the good weather. And I hope you enjoy Paddy's Day tomorrow. And before you go, what watch are you wearing? It is funky. And would you believe it, MC Cent? It's a Swatch watch. It's a cheap and cheerful watch. And I like cheap and cheerful watches from Swatch. And I like bright yellow. I like bright colors, and I like yellow watches, for example, which is a bit strange. And you wouldn't believe the number of comments I get about that watch. And I've done consultations here, and I can see somebody watching me, and they're just looking at my watch, and they're fascinated, and they're thinking, well, you wouldn't know what they're thinking. Anyway, yeah, it's a Swatch watch, and it's a cheapo, 20, 25 quid or whatever. MC Sen, thanks for your time. No problem. Thank you for coming up or coming along. Okay. I have one more question or two more questions, lads and lassies, and I will leave it at that then and cut my stick. It's nearly 5 o'clock now, and I get out of here at 5 o'clock. I'm in at 6:30 in the morning, but I do get out at 5 o'clock sharp in the evening, and that's what I'm doing this evening now, and I'm going to go for a run then, hopefully after that. So if you have any more questions, I have 2 minutes left, and I'm prepared to wait and see if there's a question. And after that then, thanks a lot for showing up, and thank you for thumbs ups and the support and so on. Thanks for being a subscriber if you are a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you should consider subscribing, because I'm going to continue to churn out videos about all aspects of Irish law, Irish business, and there's actually a poll there on my website or on the YouTube channel at the moment. You might participate in it, basically asking you what sort of videos you'd like to see on the channel, and you can have a vote, go along and have a vote. My channel, there's a poll, as I say, have a look and see choices are between Irish law, business, property, legal issues of the day, and something else, employment law, I think. So have a look at that, and I think I will call it quits there now. I have 59 minutes, and we're nearly done. As I say, subscribe to the channel if you find it useful, and I hope you do find it useful. And if you're not a subscriber already, consider it anyway. And thanks for coming along, and thanks for your support. All right, we'll call her quits there. Thanks a lot. Bye.